Thank you for staying with us. My next guest has served 32 years as a professor at Marshall University. He retired a few years ago from the W. Page Pitt School of Journalism and Mass Communications. Before he was professor, he worked for newspapers in Wayne County, Charleston, and in Huntington for the Herald-Dispatch, and that's when he got to cover the mysterious Mothman. Please welcome Dr. Ralph Turner. There he is. Thank you, Dr. Turner.
Hi, Jamie. I have a question for you.
Yes.
As I recall, before retiring, I had you in an ethics class.
No, come and sit down. We're not talking
What happened?
What happened? Come and sit down. Oh, we're not talking about that. That was years and years and years ago. You taught 32 years, and I had you 31 years ago.
Right.
So that's what it was. Well, thank you for coming on our show to talk about this Mothman.
I really like what you're doing here with the show.
Well, thank you very much. First question, is the Mothman real?
Well, here's my thought. When you called me to come down and said, oh, no, I swore to retire the Mothman and never talk about him again after all the Rotary Club meetings, Boy Scout meetings, church meetings, presentations at the Mothman Festival. And I particularly said, I'm not going to talk about it when one of my last speeches, the person before me claimed the Mothman came into her house and blew up her TV set. I said, it's time to retire the Mothman after that. But back to your question was what?
You got to cover the Mothman.
Right.
What was the morale there at that time when all this was going on?
Well, a lot of unknowns, and I had a typical city editor for the Huntington newspaper that I worked for at the time, and he said, Ralph, why don't you get up there at Point Pleasant and find out what all these people are seeing? And he said, you know, everybody's uptight about it and whatever. What's really going on? So I got one of our photographers late at night, and kind of a funny thing, Frank, I didn't believe in the Mothman, you know.
But people do up there. They take
it
seriously.
Oh, yeah, but on the way up there, I stopped by my house, got my son's baseball bat to take with me as a weapon against the Mothman, just in case.
Just in case.
Just in case. And we camped out all night, Mike Hoback, the photographer, and I did. We never did see the Mothman, but I believe people saw something. They didn't make it up. They saw something. But come on now, you know, who believes in a Mothman, right?
But again, there's a lot of people that believe. They had that Mothman Festival every year. You mentioned you go up to that.
What is kind of interesting, the last story I wrote about it, maybe my ending was prophetic.
Yeah.
It says, just what was seen in the dark of the night may never be known, may never be firmly established. The Mason County monster may become a legend. Maybe a new tourist attraction has been born. So it certainly is a legend, and certainly is a tourist attraction.
Well, what about the Mothman movie that came out a few years ago with Richard Gere? How do you think that helped or hurt the Mothman
Interesting
legend?
movie. Frankly, I thought the movie was kind of an ego trip for the movie photographers, and it didn't at all resemble the real Mothman story. It was pretty far out from that.
Now, what is the Mothman story? What really happened up there? What did people see? What happened with the Silver Bridge collapse? Tell us about that.
Well, at the time, frankly, there was no tie to the Silver Bridge. There was no tie to the Men in Black. That came later, was added onto the picture. But at the time, nobody was writing about the Silver Bridge until it actually collapsed after that. But people saw something up there. They were scared. Even the sheriff had to warn people not to become hunters. They were bringing shotguns out in that area to look for the Mothman and shoot the Mothman or the Moth-her.
So some people had shotguns and you had your bat.
Shotguns, right. Had my baseball bat.
You had your baseball bat, okay.
And we camped out all night. It was in November, about this time of year. And it was cold, rainy, and misty, you know, eerie, like a Halloween night, Dracula and all that, typical, but we didn't see the Mothman.
Were you hoping to see something?
Yeah, I thought I might, you know, to reveal the ending, if you will. I think, I like to think that maybe we solved the mystery. And that is a biologist at WVU in Morgantown I talked with said he thought the Mothman was a sandhill crane, a large bird that somehow got trapped in the Ohio Valley with a wingspan of about 6 feet, had red eyes, and so it made a shrieking sound that would scare you to death. And that was a reasonable. As I said, I don't believe there's such thing as a Mothman, but the people saw something. They were scared, they saw something flying around, and so that made sense to me. And I said, case closed. Mothman's a sandhill crane. Others disagree with me.
And there hasn't been any real sightings since then, right?
No.
Now,
No.
if you would have found something, if you would have found the Mothman, I mean, how big do you think this would have been? You know, Ralph Turner at the time with his photographer taking pictures, and
Well,
here's the Mothman.
probably bigger than something going on now up in Greenbrier County, where they found a male lion out there in the woods. This is something all the talk shows are talking about now. A man was out hunting with a bow and saw a full-fledged African lion in Greenbrier County. And so it would be something kind of along those lines.
So could we send our challenger Adam Eve to go up and
I think you
hunt
should.
that lion?
Yeah.
Yeah, we might do that. I'll have Zippy write that down. Dr. Turner, thank you for coming on this show. We really
My pleasure.
appreciate you. Dr. Turner, everybody, we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.